How's everyone doing today? Let's read some more Job. It is April Fool's Day. The only fool I care about is Job. You know what I'm really sick of is getting texts about new things in people's online stores. Like, I guess I should just unsubscribe. I get signed up for that stuff, and then I'm sure everyone can relate to that. So we're going to read today. 22 is Eliphaz, 23 is Job, 24 is Job, and then Bildad says a short little piece here in 25. So I think we can get through 25 because then Job has like a really long response to that. So 26 through 31 is all going to be Job's response. So when we get to that, I'll probably have to break it up into a couple of parts. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered and said, "May a man be profitable unto God, as he that is wise may be profitable to himself. Is it anything unto the Almighty that thou art righteous? Or is it profitable to him that thou makest thy ways upright? Is it for fear of thee that he will accuse thee, or go with thee into judgment? Is not thy wickedness great, and thine iniquities innumerable? For thou hast taken the pledge from thy brother for naught, and spoiled the clothes of the naked. To such as were weary thou hast not given water to drink, and hast withdrawn bread from the hungry. But the mighty man had the earth, and he that was in authority dwelt in it. Thou hast cast out widows empty, and the arms of the fatherless were broken. Therefore snares are round about thee, and fear shall suddenly trouble thee." It very much seems like Eliphaz and Zophar perceive that Job has committed slights against those less fortunate than himself. So maybe that's true. We don't really know that much about his dealings prior to all of the discourse that happens here. This is kind of like Platonic style discourse, where you have this back and forth between these characters, propelling the philosophical discussion. For thou hast taken the pledge from thy brother for naught, and spoiled the clothes of the naked. To such as were weary thou hast not given water to drink, and hast withdrawn bread from the hungry. Yeah, that's very interesting. Therefore snares are round about thee, and fear shall suddenly trouble thee. Or darkness that thou shouldest not see, and abundance of waters shall cover thee. Is not God on high in the heaven? And behold the height of the stars, how high they are. But thou sayest, how should God know? Can he judge through the dark cloud? The clouds hide him that he cannot see, and he walketh in the circle of heaven. Hast thou marked the way of the world, wherein wicked men have walked? So, like, are you, observing how other people have committed evil in this world? Is that like the path that you're choosing? Which were cut down before the time, whose foundation was as a river that overflowed, which said unto God, Depart from us, and asked what the Almighty could do for them. Yet he filled their houses with good things, but let the counsel of the wicked be far from me. So Eliphaz is admitting here that oftentimes evil men do go unpunished. The righteous shall see them and shall rejoice, and the innocent shall laugh them to scorn. Surely our substance is hid, but the fire hath devoured the remnant of them. Therefore acquaint thyself, I pray thee, with him, and make peace. Thereby thou shalt have prosperity. Receive, I pray thee, the law of his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart. If thou return to the Almighty, thou shalt be built up, and thou shalt put iniquity far from thy tabernacle. Thou shalt lay up gold for dust, and the gold of Ophir, as the flints of the rivers. Yea, the Almighty shall be thy defense, and thou shalt have plenty of silver. And thou shalt then delight in the Almighty, and lift up thy face unto God. Thou shalt make thy prayer unto him, and he shall hear thee, and thou shalt render thy vows. Thou shalt also decree a thing, and he shall establish it unto thee, and the light shall shine down upon thy ways. When others are cast down, then shalt thou say, I am lifted up, and God shall save the humble person. The innocent shall deliver the island, and it shall be preserved by the pureness of thine hands. Receive, I pray thee, the law of his mouth, and lay up his words in thine heart. Surely our substance is hid. Really, we are not abstaining from sin really for God's benefit. We are abstaining from sin for our own benefit and for the benefit of those around us, which in a lot of ways actually ends up benefiting us. You don't want to be the one who, this is a really controversial opinion, that you do not want to be the one doing the best out of everyone who is surrounding you. I don't know. That seems a little controversial. A lot of people, I think, disagree with that. Let's talk about it. Why not? Well, where's your infrastructure? Where's your community? That's the big thing, is that when something bad does happen, bad things, awful things happen to people all the time. And if you are not building a community around yourself, then when those things do happen, you'll be in big trouble. Sorry. But Job answered and said, Though my talk be this day in bitterness, and my plague greater than my groaning, would God yet I knew how to find him, I would enter unto his place. If God would just show himself to me, I would enter into his place. What is that? Oh, it's this thing. Okay. I would plead the cause before him and fill my mouth with arguments. Old man shakes fist at cloud, right? I would know the words that he would answer me, and would understand what he would say to me. Would he plead against me with his great power? No, but he would put strength in me. So Job is like, I've lived a really righteous life. I don't know how much more righteous you expect me to be. I wonder if we ever will address in more tangible terms here whether or not Job actually is as Eliphaz and Zophar claim. Has he been remiss towards the people in his community who have needed help, who have needed assistance? Or is that something that they are just projecting? They did come from far away, so the assumption is that they're not like right in his business all the time. And back then it's not like he would have been posting on social media about like, look, I'm feeding the hungry. Look at all my sons and daughters banqueting together. Oh no, anyway, so there the righteous might reason with him, so I should be delivered forever from my judge. Behold, if I go to the east, he is not there. If to the west, yet I cannot perceive him. If to the north where he worketh, yet I cannot see him. He will hide himself in the south, and I cannot behold him. But he knoweth my way, and trieth me, and I shall come forth like the gold. My foot hath followed his steps. His way have I kept, and have not declined. Neither have I departed from the commandment of his lips, and I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than mine appointed food. Yet he is in one mind, and who can turn him? Yea, he doeth what his mind desireth, for he will perform that which is decreed of me, and many such things are with him. Therefore I am troubled at his presence, and in considering it I am afraid of him. For God hath softened mine heart, and the Almighty hath troubled me. For I am not cut off in darkness, but he hath hid the darkness from my face. So there is kind of this underlying current within Job of the idea of knowing God, knowing God's intentions as a human, versus how that infiltrates your life and what your actions are within your life. There was a lot of discourse in Jesus's time, especially, and that was why you had so many prophets kind of rising up, because Jesus was the one, but there were also like other people around that time who were kind of involved in similar things. Like John the Baptist, for example, that there was a lot of discourse about the Pharisees and how they were very pious, and they were very optically pious, so that they were more concerned with how it looked for them to worship than actually performing good deeds or being good and kind to the people in their lives. Like being, the difference between being nice versus being kind also. And so we're seeing hints of that discourse here as well. But because we don't really have a lot of backstory on Job going into this, the only assumption that we can make is that an absence of evidence would only go so far as to prove that maybe he didn't. Maybe Eliphaz and Zophar do know him quite well. How should not the times be hid from the Almighty, seeing that they which know him see not his days? Some remove the landmarks that rob the flocks and feed thereof. They lead away the ass of the fatherless, and take the widow's ox to pledge. They make the poor to turn out of the way, so that the poor of the earth hide themselves together. Behold, others as wild asses in the wilderness go forth to their business, and rise early for a prayer. The wild wilderness giveth him and his children food. They reap his provision in the field, but they gather the late vintage of the wicked. They cause the naked to lodge without garment and without covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and they embrace the rock for want of a covering. They pluck the fatherless from the breast and take the pledge of the poor. They cause him to go naked without clothing and take the gleaning from the hungry. They that make oil between their walls and tread their wine presses suffer thirst. Men cry out of the city, and the souls of the slain cry out. yet God doth not charge them with folly. These are they that abhor the light, they know not the ways thereof, nor continue in the paths thereof. The murderer riseth early, and killeth the poor and needy, and in the night he is as a thief. The eye also of the adulterer waiteth for the twilight, and saith, None eye shall see me, and disguiseth his face. They dig through houses in the dark, which they marked for themselves in the day. They know not the light. But the morning is even to them as the shadow of death. If one knows them, they are in the terrors of the shadow of death. He is swift upon the waters. Their portion shall be cursed in the earth. He will not behold the way of the vineyards. As the dry ground and heat consume the snow waters, so shall the grave the sinners. The pitiful man shall forget him. The worm shall feel his sweetness. He shall be no more remembered, and the wicked shall be broke like a tree. He doth evil entreat ye barren, that doeth not bear, yet neither doeth he good to the widow. He draweth also the mighty by his power, and when he riseth up, none is sure of life. Though men give him assurance to be in safety, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little, but they are gone, and are brought low as all others. They are destroyed and cut off as the top of an ear of corn. But if it be not so, where is he? Or who will prove me a liar and make my words of no value? So in 23, Job is talking about his own ways of walking with the Lord. In 24, how should not the times be hid from the Almighty, seeing that they which know him see not his days? He speaks not only of people who do wicked in the world, but also people who are ignorant of being able to care for themselves. Now, this often is considered a moral failing, but I wonder here, they cause the naked to lodge without garment and without covering in the cold. They are wet with the showers of the mountains, and they embrace the rock for want of a covering. So like in 24:8, like most of this is about the wickedness that people do unto others. He does talk a lot about people being unkind to the poor and needy, and stealing from them and killing them. And the graves of the sinners, even their victims, don't really take note of the graves of the sinners, I suppose. Though men give him assurance to be in safety, yet his eyes are upon their ways. They are exalted for a little, but they are gone and are brought low as all others. Kind of that we are all subject to this, good and wicked alike. And that there are differences, but it seems like it's not in the ways that people think it is. And it's really not for us to know. So again, we kind of come back to this root of the discourse of how much of God's plan and God's will are we really privy to? Especially in regard to our own suffering and the suffering of others and the nature of suffering in this world. And let's close it out with Bildad the Shuhite. He says, "Power and fear is with him that maketh peace in his high places. Is there any number in his armies? And upon whom shall not his light arise? And how may a man be justified with God? Or how can he be clean that is born of woman? Behold, he will give no light to the moon, and the stars are unclean in his sight. How much more man, a worm, even the son of man, which is but a worm." And then we'll get that really sparked something in Job, because then he's going to give us a very long response. Let's see. So that's like 6 whole chapters that he's going to give us in response. I would like to hear from you guys in the comments as to whether or not you think that Eliphaz and Zophar are accurate in what it seems like they're saying, that Job maybe ignored those in need, and that's why he's being punished. I would like to know if you think that's the case, or if you have any evidence that perhaps Job did, in fact, take care of the needy, and Eliphaz and Zophar just don't know what they're talking about. I hope you are all having a blessed Lenten season. Today is also April Fool's Day. The only fool I care about today is Orange Fool, which was George Washington's favorite dessert. Have a blessed day, and I look forward to seeing you.